Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Inventors Launchpad Network. I am broadcasting live today from Las Vegas Convention Center. It's the hardware show. It's an awesome show. We got some great inventions. I've been walking around, seeing some stuff, and I'm surprised at the different inventions, but the full spectrum. I mean, there's inventions here that do everything all the way through to different types of hardware and software and different things, and it's really cool. One of the great things about the hardware show is it's full of education. And that's one thing that inventors need. Myself, I'm an inventor. I always am learning. I'm always making a mistake, learning from it, and not making that same mistake again. What I love about the UIA, I love about the hardware show is it's full of education. I have with me a director from the patent office, Mr. John Cabecca. And he's going to talk to us a little bit. We see where he's from, what's going on. And I really think that the patent office is doing a great job. They're really stepping up and doing some great work. So let's talk to him and see what's happening. Hey, John, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, how's it going? It's good to be here. And just a quick clarification, I'm the director of the Silicon Valley U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. Definitely not the director of the agency. So
See, I gave you
I got a promotion right away. Wow, thanks for that.
No. So thanks a lot.
In my role, I cover outreach and education and stakeholder engagement on intellectual property policy matters for the 7 western states of the U.S.
Well, that's pretty big area you cover, right?
So, yeah. In concert with headquarters, of course, in Alexandria.
Of course. Now, do you travel a lot in your position?
I do, quite a bit, quite extensively, up and down the region and back and forth to headquarters as well, and sometimes some international work as well.
Wow, that's good. It's so interesting to me because the patent office is, they're tasked with so much. When people talk about, the patent office, I don't think people realize how much you guys do. I mean, between trademarks and patents and copyright. Right. But then there's so much other things that you guys do. I mean, why don't you go over a little bit about the patent office and things and just an overview. I don't think people understand what it consists of.
Sure. It's probably easiest to explain by talking about the head of the USPTO. So Andrei Iancu is has a very long title, is the Undersecretary of Commerce for Intellectual Property and the Director for the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. So there's actually 2 titles in there. One people are probably most familiar with is as Director of the USPTO. Director Iancu is responsible for the day-to-day operations of the agency, where we're focused on granting patents and registering trademarks to our applicants here in the U.S. But in the other title, as the Undersecretary of Commerce for Intellectual Property, he serves as the principal advisor to the President through the Secretary of Commerce on all forms of intellectual property. So as a result of that, we help with, we actually have our own Office of International Policy that works in concert with other divisions across the federal government to lead IP policy for the U.S. and also to help drive intellectual property policy in other offices around the world.
Wow.
And so we play a very big role, and not just for patents and trademarks, but also for copyrights and trade secrets and the enforcement of those rights.
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned that because people in the U.S. are always worried about other countries, what's happening with their product and things like that, but also it's vice versa. And I never really thought of that until you said that. So really it's a worldwide phenomenon that you guys have to cover, patents and products going out of this country, but also products, people are bringing products here from other countries, right?
Sure.
How does that, does that play a big role in it? Do other countries want to get U.S. patents?
Of course they do, because they want to take advantage of the very strong American economy and have their products sold here in the U.S. And in order to do that, they're also going to want intellectual property protection for those products here in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, what you were saying, I'm like, it's not just us. And that's a huge, Director Iancu's doing a good job. That's a huge job. Yeah. You're policing a lot of things. And I don't mean it in a bad way, policing, but it's just huge. Whenever I think about the patent office, I think of huge warehouses of paperwork and things like that. But obviously, a lot of it's all electronic and things like that. But are there still things that are paper?
So very little. So I've been at the agency now. This is my 30th year.
Holy smokes!
And I started as a patent examiner. So we used to search in paper. Our applications were in paper. We hand wrote our office actions. So a lot has happened in 30 years. And now we have state-of-the-art technology. We actually have a a new plan in place to even upgrade our systems further in the next couple of years.
Wow, yeah.
Everything's electronic
yeah.
now. So.
And being able to access very quickly for your exam, when you were an examiner, that's one thing that I can't even imagine the amount of paperwork and work that an examiner has to do for just one single patent, let alone hundreds and thousands. There's no doubt about it. How does when you talk to some of the inventors here at the trade show, does it seem like you're taking advantage of the resources that the patent office offers?
Yeah, I think so. So this trade show, and it's great to be here in the Inventors Spotlight. We've been actively participating in this trade show and part of the Inventors Spotlight now, I think for at least 10 years.
Wow.
And it's because of the value we're able to bring to the community that we're still able to, that we want to keep coming back. One of the things that we found is, like all trade shows, is some companies here have their intellectual property worked out, right? They figured out their branding, they have a great brand, they figured out what they need to protect and what their strategy is for protecting their patents and whether they need other forms of intellectual property. And so you definitely see that here, even in the Inventors Pavilion. But you also see the flip side too, where people are still just trying to figure that out. And that's one of the nice things about the Inventors Spotlight. It gives you the opportunity to be here, elbow to elbow with some that have kind of figured it out and others that are working on figuring it out. But with that, since it is a trade show, we do, like to caution joining a trade show, a big public forum like this, without having already thought about protecting your patent. So we do a lot about what you need to know before the show. We actually did a webinar for the members here at the Inventors Spotlight. So about six weeks ago, so that they would have time, if they hadn't yet filed a patent application, to try to get at least a provisional together, so they get themselves at least some rudimentary protection before joining a show like this, so they have something already on the books at the USPTO.
Yeah, that's great.
And then through other educational programs that we offer both remotely on our website, through webinars, and in person, either through headquarters or through one of the regional offices like my own, we do a lot of on-site programs to help innovators and work with them through workshops on how to search for patents, workshops on how to file and prepare your application, and even workshops on really understanding what the difference is between all these forms of IP, which can get quite complex.
Yeah, I agree. What I love about, and again, I used to shy away from going on to the patent office website. For some reason, I thought it was complex. I thought it was hard to use. Until I really got into it, and when I focused on finding what I wanted, I found that the website functions very well. But what I really love is it is a wealth of information.
It is. And it is. I mean, when you think about intellectual property, it is a field of law. So you can just expect that when you come to the USPTO's website, there is going to be a lot of content. And mining that content is something we have constantly worked to improve. And we actually are doing another wave of improvements to our website currently. And so that it's easier to find information that ways to loop you back to where you may really want to be, so you don't get lost in a rabbit trail or anything like that. So it's been made some tremendous inroads in recent years, but we're making another effort at that now. So,
sometimes when I get lost in the site, I get lost on my own. It's amazing to me. I love just looking at some of the patents and how old they are and the things they are, and you're like, wow, this is really cool, And is there some patents? I mean, you were a patent examiner, and like you said, some old patents, right? I mean, you've seen some really cool stuff.
Yeah, and a lot older than me too. So.
yes. Well, you're not that old, and when you said 30 years, I was like, wow, you must have started right out of school.
It's amazing. I mentioned how before we were doing all of our work, by hand and in paper, but you've seen how far technology has come in the past 30 years, and not only has our economy grown and benefited as a result of that growth of technology, but we've also benefited within the agency by being able to take advantage of some of those technologies as well.
Yeah.
And that said, there's a lot of us at the PTO, at the USPTO, that very much treasure the history of the system, the patent system, now 230 years old. There are those within the agency and many private collectors out there as well that try to collect the old patent models, and I have a couple in my office in Silicon Valley as well. And it's something that we do love to for being such a historic agency. We get our roots, from the Patent Act of 1790, but the Constitution only uses the word right once throughout the entire original Constitution,
Wow.
and that is granting the rights to inventors. So we're very proud of that, and we'd like to keep that legacy going, even though as we evolve and take advantage of all this technology too.
Yeah, it's amazing, and a lot of people who aren't inventors or don't realize that the patenting system was like one of the first things our founding fathers really wanted to make sure they did it right. That's what it seems like to me when I read through that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's like they wanted to make sure that people that came here, that people that developed things and invented things, had the right to do that. That's what it seems like it put together, right?
Yeah, our founding fathers figured it out early that
Yeah.
protecting innovations is a really good way to build and develop job growth and create a strong American economy.
It's awesome. I mean, and then again, and I said it before, I think that all you guys are doing, and it's overwhelming from being outside of it, and you're just doing such a great job because it's such an important piece. Making a misstep or just one inventor having a bad experience, you really don't want that to happen, and
Right.
I think that's
Right.
a lot of pressure, and it's hard to please everybody, so it has to be a certain way.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why we have such a strong focus, not just out of headquarters in Alexandria, Virginia, but through each of the regional offices to bring the USPTO's resources and services and educational programs to the communities across the United States. And, there are resources that we offer for under-resourced inventors, those that can't afford to get intellectual property protection through pro bono programs, and we have law school clinic programs. And even internally within the USPTO, we have a program of specialized examiners that just focus on working with applicants that have filed without the assistance of a registered practitioner. And of course, we always recommend that you file using the services of a registered practitioner, but in the case where you can't, we have examiners there that are there to help hold your hand and guide you through the process.
Yeah. I have a couple of patents, and I've done it both ways. I've done it myself, and I've used the help of a patent, a registered patent attorney. Much easier with a registered patent attorney. But what I found was I actually called and I spoke with the examiner, and she was awesome.
Great. Yeah.
I mean, I was worried for a second, like, oh my God, you can use all this lingo.
No, we love it. We want you to engage with us, and examiners may reach out to you as well. Last year alone, I think we did over 300,000 telephone interviews, but we have other ways where you can engage with our examining workforce that's across the country, and ways that you can take advantage of the interview rooms in the regional offices and out of headquarters to really improve that engagement with the examiner. So we do encourage that.
What's funny is you threw out that over 300,000, but there's only 350 days in a year. I mean, that is staggering, those numbers. And you said it like it was
well, we receive about over 600,000 new patent applications a year.
God.
So just that alone, and you think we have so we're working on over 1 million applications a year as well. So
wow.
It's yes.
And everyone expects
quite a task.
Yeah. And I guess being in the system, working for the patent office as much as you have seen, the growth and the changes, and you probably not that you're immune to it, but when you look back from when you first started, I mean, it's probably like, wow, how did we even do it back then?
Right. It's amazing, and I'd like to. I can't imagine how we did it back then, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's true.
And just given also as our technologies have been advancing at the rate of innovation in this country, what's also increased is the rate of prior art. What's been out in the public domain that the examiners now have to consider in order to ensure that they've exhausted their search when figuring out whether or not to grant or deny a patent. So a lot of the technological advancements that we've had within the agency have really been helping our workforce tackle that ever-growing haystack of prior art, and you're just trying to find that needle, right? So.
And when you say prior art, I mean, to me, being on the design and the development side, it seems like there's always something that's so close to an inventor's product. So that prior art there's going to be something found that's close,
right.
And it's like you said, deciphering and working through it. And that's where your examiners really come in, that front line.
And making the decision, is close actually reading on the invention, or is it somehow what was known before? Does it render what's currently seeking patent protection, does it render that obvious? So that's what the examiners are grappling with every day.
There's a lot of pressure on you guys because an inventor, it's just them. It's a single person or a family or whatever, and it's their baby, it's their emotion. And the examiner wants to do a great job for each and every individual person. And then you have corporations with thousands and thousands and educational colleges and things, and you hear about the amount of patents that they put in. Is it different between, say, an educational or a big corporation, say like IBM or say Florida State, that doing hundreds of patents? Do they have a different division for those type of patents, or those type of patents?
All the applications are only sorted by technology. So an examiner would work on cases from large companies, small companies, micro entities, research institutions, academic institutions. It's all based on the technology, because we want the examiner skilled in the technology to be the one that examines that technology.
And then there's no favoritism. There can't be.
Exactly.
That's great. Not that there would be, but somebody said, oh yeah, I look at 100 from a certain college, they kind of get used to it, but they don't.
And I just have to commend the examiners, because they are very much focused on doing the greatest, best job they can.
Yeah.
And getting the quality work product out there, helping you get the patent. And on my side, a lot of my effort is focused on making sure that you have the awareness of what you need to know when you're filing for your patent application. What do you need to know up front? And what are some questions you might want to ask a patent attorney before you hire them to do your work for you? Are they going to get you the best scope of protection that meets with your business strategy? Or are they just going to give you a very narrowly crafted claim that will look pretty on your wall, but might be easy to innovate around? You want to make it more difficult to innovate around. So those are all things that we try to do through our educational programs.
And that's, just those words are so super important. You need to find the right fit. And through knowledge, it's the only way that you're really going to know what to ask, what to do. Because a patent attorney, they're all great, they're all busy, but it might not fit exactly what your product is, because maybe the patent attorney doesn't really even understand the product enough. So there's a lot. So I think that the education can really not only help on the public side, but the examiner gets the right information, can move things along quicker.
Yeah, you want to do your research. You want to ask the right questions. You want to pick and choose which one you think is going to be the best, do the best job for you, as opposed to just, dialing the number at 2 o'clock in the morning and crossing your fingers.
Yeah, and everybody wants their patent to go through quickly, but that's not always the best thing.
Exactly.
I mean, every one of my patents that we did through,
and we have ways to accelerate it as well, even if you need to.
Yeah, I mean, but
the important thing is getting the patent pending status and getting it early, especially since we're a first to file country now.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Does it really matter in a sense? As long as it's in there and it's pretty much on its route, you can start talking about it. You can start doing the process because it's been filed.
Yeah.
So that's the good part.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Great.
So what's new? What's something new that anything secretive that you could tell us about the patent office is doing?
Secretive, no. But,
we won't tell anybody.
But as we were talking about going from paper and using all this technology, and one of the things that we are proud of in America is the advancement into machine learning and artificial intelligence, and so that's something we're very focused on too. And it's not just in AI, but it's in really any industry that's that is created out of the U.S. We want to do as much as we can to support that industry and keep it strong in America. So we have a lot of initiatives currently underway to support artificial intelligence, creating policy and guidelines, not only with examining applications in these technologies, but also providing broader guidance as necessary across the system.
That's awesome. So, man, it's great. Listen, John, I appreciate you jumping on with us today. I mean,
my pleasure.
I hope our listeners are listening because, again, the website, it looks like it's complicated. It's really not. Go in there, learn as much as you can. I really appreciate you guys doing all the educational stuff because it really helps. Even if you aren't planning on doing it yourself, educate yourself before you go look for a patent attorney. I mean, that's kind of what I think you're saying.
Yeah, and take advantage of the resources available. Go to the USPTO.gov, come visit us in a regional office, attend our programs, meet with an expert in any of our offices. and help get your questions answered. And we're a great resource, and take advantage of that, and make sure that when you have your application, interact with the examiner as well.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been around a long time, man. You know what you're doing.
Get better every day.
Well, John Quebeca, Regional Director of Silicon Valley. Awesome. Thanks a lot for being on today, and we'll catch you next time on the Inventors Launchpad Network.
Thanks so much.
You all take care.